Hello and welcome back to another episode of Math with Sohn. Today we're going to be solving systems of equations using substitution. So there are three ways that you can actually solve a system, which is two equations. And substitution is one of those three. The other method is graphing, which we probably should have already done. And then elimination, which we're going to have tomorrow. Okay? So substitution is okay. The only time I would personally like to use substitution is if there is a single equation or both equations that say y equals, or the y is by itself, or the x is by itself, which happens here. So see how this says y equals that negative 3x. If that is what y equals, then you could take that and replace or substitute it in for the y in the other equation, because y equals negative 3x, you can substitute it in and get negative 3x is equal to 6x minus 9. And then you just have to solve. Well, if you have to solve that equation, you need to get the x's on one side and then the numbers on the other. In this case, I would personally subtract 6x and end up with negative 9x is equal to negative 9. And when you divide by negative 9, you get positive 1. Now, positive 1 is an answer. It's not the full answer. In order to get the full answer, you have to plug this 1 back into either of the two equations. Whichever one you decide you want to plug it back into. You can plug it into the top one or the bottom one. Doesn't matter. Whatever one you determine is easier. I think the top one is easier in this case. If I plug it in, I'd have y equals negative 3 times 1, and I get negative 3. Now, just boxing 1 and negative 3, that's close. That's pretty gosh darn close to the final answer. But officially, if you remember from graphing these, that it should be written as a coordinate point for your solution. And that would be x comma y. X would be the 1, and then the y was the negative 3. Okay? And the good news is it's not going to get too much more complicated on the front. So we're only going to do a few more on the front before we head on to the back. So I'm going to go with number 4 because it looks like these equations are so similar that maybe something funky will happen. Here, y equals negative 6x plus 3. So you need to plug or substitute that in for y. And then we get negative 6x plus 3 equals 6x plus 3. Okay, no biggie. For this time, I'm going to add the 6x over because I feel like it's easier to do that. That would cancel, leaving me with 3 is equal to 12x plus 3. And I'm out of room. You may barely have enough room for some of these. 3 equals 12x plus 3. We would need to subtract 3. And we do encounter an issue here, but not a crazy issue. If 0 is equal to 12x and you divide by 12, you end up with 0 is equal to x. No solution there. Now, there is a completely other video talking about infinite and no solutions, which I would recommend, highly recommend, that you look at before you get too much further on with your actual problems, because it's only a 3-minute video. It's after this one. So x is equal to 0, which is an answer. If you plug in 0 to either of the two equations, which I'm going to plug it into the bottom one this time, this y equals 6x plus 3, I would get y equals 6 times 0 plus 3, which is 3. And I have to write my final answer as x comma y, which is 0 comma 3. All right? So the entire front side is going to be involving that, where you're really just kind of setting each thing equal to each other. So if you recognize that, then that makes it a little easier. So see how this is y equals and y equals? I can just set them equal to each other without fully getting the whole idea of substitution. But on the other side of this page, you'll realize that not everything is going to be that way. So on this side, you got to look and be careful, because there's one equation that has a y by itself, or an x by itself for that matter. And that would be, in this case, this equation, the top one again. Y equals 6x minus 6. And that would be replacing and being plugged in for this y right here. So I have to substitute this in for that y. It's going to be negative 3x minus 3 times 6x minus 6 equals negative 24. Distribute your negative 3. Negative 3x minus 18x plus 18 equals negative 24. I think I said 23 last time. Apologize if I did. So make sure when you're plugging it in, it's in parentheses, because all this is what y is equal to. So all of that needs to be put in parentheses, and then you have to distribute the negative 3 that was in front of the y. Combine any like terms if there are any, and in this case there are. We got a negative 3x, we got a negative 18. You combine them, we're not moving it to the other side of the equal sign because they're right next to each other. Or, more importantly, they're on the same side of the equal sign. If they're on the same side of the equal sign, you have to do the same thing that they say. Negative 3 and negative 18 makes negative 21x plus 18 equals negative 24. Continue to solve. Subtract 18, get a number. Negative 21x is equal to 6. Yeah, 6. No, not even 6 at all. That's negative 24 minus 18. Negative 24 minus 18 is 42. Negative 42. Apologies, I almost messed up big time there. Now, the majority of your answers will be normal whole numbers, but I would expect every once in a while for there to be an answer that is not a whole number and is a fraction. So just be aware. Negative 21x is equal to negative 42. Divide by negative 21, divide by negative 21, and you get x is equal to 2. If x is equal to 2, then you get to pick whichever equation you want to plug it back into, and I really like the top equation. I don't really like the bottom equation, so I'm going to plug in the 2 for x, not for y, into that top equation. 6 times 2 minus 6 is equal to 12 minus 6, which is 6. So we have our x, we have our y, we have to finalize our answer as a coordinate point, x comma y, 2 comma 6. Okay? Let's do another one. Let's do another one like that. I'm going to do number 14. It's right here, and it looks like I have plenty of room to do it. So here, figure out which equation has a variable. Now, most of these have y by itself, but it could have been x equals. So if this said x equals this stuff, I would just substitute in for x. It says y equals this stuff, so I have to substitute in for y. So all of this is what y is equal to. And I've got to plug it into that y right there. So that is going to end up being 6x minus 4 in parentheses everything that y was, which was a 6x, negative 6x plus 2 equals negative 8. If there is distributing, you have to distribute 6x plus 24x, because negative 4 and negative 6 is positive 24, minus 8 equals negative 8. 6x, 24x makes 30x. Negative 8 is negative 8, equals negative 8. So this one, again, is going to have a weird situation when we add 8. They both cancel out, leaving you with 30x is equal to 0. Okay? And I'm going to divide by 30, and 0 divided by 30 is 0. So x is equal to 0. Again, I highly recommend that you look at the other two videos involving like just extra practice with substitution, as well as how to deal with no solution versus infinite solution, because when there's a 0 involved, you could involve no solution or infinite solution. But to kind of hone it in, anytime you divide by a number, 0 divided by a number is 0. But if you're trying to divide by 0, whoosh, no solution right off the bat. Okay, x is equal to 0. Which equation looks easier this time? To me, it's the bottom one. That one looks a little friendlier, but you could plug it into the top one and get the same exact answer if you've done everything correctly. Y equals negative 6 times 0 plus 2. So I'm plugging in the x for 0, for right there. Substituting in the x, so to speak. Y would equal negative 6 times 0 is 0, plus 2 is 2. So our coordinate point, 0, 2, is our official solution. One more. The last one that I'm going to be doing is going to be one that is not that hard, but sometimes the easy problems are the ones that people tend to not understand. And that's going to be the very next problem, number 13. So here, y equals negative 6. Flat out, that's what y equals. You have essentially part of your answer. You got negative 6. You just need to figure out that x value. Well, it's still a substitution problem. Y equals negative 6. And that is what you could, quote unquote, plug in or substitute for y in the other equation. So we got negative 3x minus 6 in front times the y. Well, the y is negative 6. So I'm plugging in this negative 6 right here. This part is getting plugged in right there. I don't like that they're both a negative 6. That kind of makes it harder. Equals 30. And now you just do some math. Negative 6 times negative 6 is 36 equals 30. Subtract the 36. Subtract 36. Subtract 36. Negative 3x, this would cancel, would equal negative 6. And when we divide negative 6 by negative 3, you get x is equal to 2. Now, if you plugged in the 2, you couldn't plug it into the top equation because there's nothing to plug it into. But if you did, you don't have to because we actually already know what the y value is. But if you did, 3 times 2 minus 6 times y, almost messed that one up, equals 30. If you solved that, you'd end up with 6 minus 6y equals 30. Subtract 6, subtract 6. You get 24. 30 minus 6 is 24. And what's 24? No, man, what did I do wrong? Oh no. Oh no, 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 no. What happened? What happened? There's a mistake. Where's the mistake? I am sad. I will have to redo the whole problem if I can't find my mistake. 3 times 2 is 6 minus 6y equals 30. Subtract the 6, we get 24. 24 divided by negative 6 is not negative 6. It's supposed to equal negative 6. We have encountered an issue, and I am looking for said issue. I have not found, oh, I found the issue. It's a minor issue. And it's my own fault. I apologize. Notice how that 3x is positive? What did I write? A negative 3x. Oops. If that's a positive 3x, when we divide by a positive 3 instead of a negative 3, what does x truly equal? A negative 2, not a positive 2. Shame, shame. But it does prove how you can check your answers by plugging it into both equations. So if you really, really want to make sure you're getting the right answer, you can plug it into both both the x and the y into both your equations to check it. If I change my answer to negative 2 here, 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. And instead of subtracting 6, I would have to add 6 to both sides, which gives me 30 plus 6, which is 36. Oof. And then when we divide by negative 6, what do we end up with? What we knew all along, and that was that y was equal to -6. Y is equal to -6 because that had to be true. And the x value that I had almost correct the first time was -2. So I'm hoping you learned a few things there. I'm hoping you learned that everybody makes mistakes, but it's okay to make mistakes as long as you get the process, because if you know the process, then you're going to make less and less mistakes as you go forward, because you're going to get better and better at it, and you won't be stressing about the process. You'll just be stressing about just making sure you don't make tiny mistakes. Okay? So again, highly recommend that you watch the infinite versus no solution video. It's like 4 minutes, maybe 5. I don't remember exactly how long. And if you're still struggling with it, there's a bonus video on substitution that you can watch as well, which I think is around 10 minutes. Okay? Till next time, stay positive, and I will see everybody later. Bye.